It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome to the Tennessee bonus hour on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. I am EJ Haas filling in for the great Michael Patrick Leahy. And joining me for this hour, a legend in Tennessee.
You're kind.
Carmichael, thank you so much for being here.
Well, I love it. It's a great show.
Thank you. Yeah, today it's been a lot of fun. For those who may not know, and because I'm not sure you do, my story, in short, I escaped Minnesota-stan.
Okay.
The communist, socialist, destructive state of Minnesota. Very high taxes, very little returns. In fact, somebody just posted recently an image, a drone image from the top of the Twin Cities area, Minneapolis and St. Paul, and you can't see one crane. Far cry from what we've got here in the great state of Tennessee and Nashville in particular.
Now, let me ask you a question, because I've lived in Tennessee all of my adult life, and we've never had an income tax, but it wasn't until the teens in the 2000s that we eliminated the estate tax and then eliminated the tax on interest and dividends.
Now let's do excise tax too.
But and so now you have Minnesota, which in the last 30 years,
yes,
you've lived in Minnesota. You lived in Minnesota for
12 years.
12 years, and so how much did tax rates go up in the 12 years you were there?
And there, it's not just about your state taxes either. It went up significantly, sure, to the point where there was like a multi-billion-dollar surplus that Governor Tim Walz blew through.
You mean spent it?
Yes, spent it, blew through a surplus. But it's also your local stuff. So you're always getting hit for 2.7% more on schools, another 1.7 on property. Like it just compounds and compounds. It's a mentality they have up there.
Well, help me understand. In Tennessee,
yes,
the citizens of Tennessee would not stand for that. And that's why when they tried to pass a state income tax, it failed.
Right.
Now, it barely failed, but it failed. And since then, we've actually been cutting taxes dramatically.
Brilliant.
But
and it's part of what drew us here. Really, my family was overtaxed, and COVID really did us in. That was the end. We couldn't take it anymore.
But why do voters put up with that?
It's a culture thing up there, and I grew up in Massachusetts. My dad used to call it Taxachusetts.
Oh my God!
So we're quite happy to be here in Tennessee, but it's a culture thing. I mean, Minnesota also gave us, remember, Ilhan Omar. So we're talking about a very different culture with. They feel good about everything. Have you ever heard Minnesota nice?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's Minnesota nice on the surface. I used to call it Minnesota nice ... to your face. And it's not that they're mean behind your back. They're just always trying to be nice and put on a facade of being really nice. And so when the schools need more money, they just do it. When Governor Walz wants to feed every student in the state of Minnesota, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, they say, okay, let's just do it because the kids need lots of food.
Okay, so the voters are obviously they're fine with it because
not all of them.
Well,
it's almost a 50-50 split, but they keep importing immigrants up there, and so it's not just about we talk about illegal immigration. There's legal immigration. There's just a problem with importing other cultures to your culture, and they've done that in the Twin Cities, in St. Paul, in St. Cloud, excuse me. So when you do that, you bring in different voting bases.
So you think part of the reason that Minnesota has moved left and stays left is that the immigrants, and I'm going to say that's
one of the variables. Yes,
is one of the variables, and these are these illegal immigrants voting, or are these legal immigrants?
Both.
So illegal immigrants are voting in Minnesota, and the I'm sure
the fraud is rampant there, and I've seen it with my own eyes, so I can make that accusation.
Right.
I was a poll watcher for years, and many elections, both local, state, and also federal elections, and it's actually, I'll tell a sad story here because we're on the subject. So you would watch these women come in, and they're mostly Somali, and they would come in full Somali dress.
Burkas or
Where you could just only see the eyes.
oh wow,
or,
okay,
you
or
know,
the whole head,
and they don't speak English.
Okay.
And many of them will walk up, and of course, you don't need pre-registration in Minnesota, and you don't even need an ID to vote in Minnesota.
Okay.
So the door is open to fraud.
Yeah.
And so they have the vouching system. And there would be one man who would come in with a van load, a blue van. I saw it again, my own eyes, would come in with 7, 8 people in the full gear. And these poor women, like, they could barely hold the pen. They didn't know how to sign.
Wow.
And then he would take each one into the booth and vote for them, and they wouldn't leave without their sticker. My theory on that, not proven, almost proven, is that sticker is basically a receipt. And so then they get back and they get their $50 or whatever it is.
Okay.
So, and you report it. Lots of people report it. Hey, this isn't right. And then you realize your heart breaks. It's so very sad. I just wanted to scoop up these women and tell them there's such a better life for you here.
Well, but you're not good. But that what you're telling me though is that the voter fraud
yes
is part of the political culture.
Correct.
In Minnesota,
Yeah.
and the powers that be are well aware of it and promote it.
Correct. Promote it. Keith Ellison has had a position of state government power for a very long time, and he's fully in favor. Steve Simon is the Secretary of State there. He doesn't have a problem with it, and boasts about their high turnout rates. I mean, you'll have a precinct with like 115% turnout, things like that.
Okay, wow.
So, but to bring it back to Tennessee and why this is important, why we moved here, is that, we have our fights. There's people who don't like the ESS machines. I'm one of them. I don't like the Dominion stuff. I would prefer paper ballots that I have to sign or fill in, and that's just me. I'm old school. But the problems we have here are nothing compared
of course.
to the problems in Minnesota.
Well,
it doesn't mean we don't fix what's wrong here, but let's put things in perspective.
Well, we work very hard here to make sure that it is easy to vote but hard to cheat.
Yes.
That's what we try to do here. And we have I'm trying to think. I do have to have a photo ID.
You do?
But I don't
Yep.
have to show my voter registration. I just have my photo ID.
But you do have to register ahead of time, and that's helpful too.
And that's helpful because then they can check.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so we do all the things that frankly a society that wants to have honest elections, and that's the key word. If you want to have honest elections, we do what you should do.
Right. That's right.
And by the way, I mean, when I went in to get a blood test yesterday at a local company here,
Sure.
and I take my driver's license and turn it over because there's a little
Code on the
back,
Mm-hmm.
and they're able to check me in and verify who I am.
Yep.
And I said, and I asked them, I said, well, how would I check in if you don't have this? And she said, oh, it's far more difficult.
Yes.
I said, well, how about all the people who show up and they don't have one, who don't have an ID? We don't have any of those.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's disingenuous to say people can't get them. If you are legally here, you can get them.
And so it is, and disingenuous is a kind word. It's dishonest.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
To claim that there are people who are unable to vote because they don't have a voter ID, that's dishonest.
Right.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
That's an interesting
This is
story.
a great start to the
Very
Tennessee
interesting.
bonus
Yeah.
hour. When
Yeah.
we come back, I want your opinion on this reporter walking through Din Jabbar's house.
Okay.
When we come back.
folks, John Fredericks here for Freedom Alliance. Veterans are still struggling with the wounds of war. They came home with injuries that changed them forever. The flag-burning troublemakers in our streets remind me how fortunate we are to have patriots who served and fought, sacrificed, and never complained. We need to support them through organizations like the Freedom Alliance. It's Military Appreciation Month and time to support those who serve. Freedom Alliance is caring for combat veterans and military families. Combat veterans fought in the worst, most dangerous places on earth. Freedom Alliance takes them to nature's most relaxing locations so they can heal. Freedom Alliance gives injured troops mortgage-free homes, new cars, and all-terrain wheelchairs. For wounded vets, there's nothing like the stability of your own home, the reinsurance of a reliable vehicle, or the independence of a wheelchair that navigates snow, ice, beach, pasture, or most any terrain. Let's fight for those who fought for us. Go to freedomalliance.org/Godzilla and make a monthly gift that will improve the life of a military hero. That's freedomalliance.org/Godzilla. Make a contribution today.
If you're like me, most moms find it difficult to prioritize self-care. Hi, it's Colleen, Program Director at the John Fredericks Media Network. With the demands of programming 13 radio stations, it's easy to forget about the things I should do for myself daily. And that's why I started with our company's Women's Challenge with Native Path Collagen Peptides. It's affordable and convenient care in just one scoop a day. There are so many incredible health benefits like bone and joint support, metabolism booster, and hair, skin, and nail improvement. I like to take a moment each day to prioritize myself and indulge in the health-boosting benefits of Native Path Collagen Peptides. I love mixing it up with all the different smoothie recipes, too. Learn more about Native Path Collagen Peptides and read 7 important reasons why you should be taking collagen peptides at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Prioritize your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today and get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
Target.com. Target.com is an online e-commerce tire retailer. We are here to serve the American public with the best possible customer service, the best pricing, and we make it extremely easy. We have many name brands and a lot of low-cost tires. The price is right, and it's easy. You go online to Target.com, Tireget.com, Target.com. You go there, you put your zip code in, all the inventory displays right in front of you. You can call in for help if you want to. We'll help you get the tire that you need. But we will take the tires you buy and at no extra charge deliver them to the dealer right by your house where they will be installed at the market price. It's easy. The best price, the best service. Great people to deal with. Thank you for going to Target.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. I am E.J. Haast filling in for the great Michael Patrick Leahy, and I am joined by Crom Carmichael, a Tennessee genius, if I may say so.
Oh, now.
You know all things political. We have been talking about the news of the day. What everybody's talking about, right, is the attack in New Orleans, the Cybertruck explosion in front of Trump International. Before you came on to the Tennessee bonus hour here, we were talking about this reporter who was permitted to walk through the home of Din Jabbar, the man who drove his car through the New Orleans street, Bourbon Street, killing people and then shooting them. And I want your take on it. We're going to start this clip, and then I want to get your response.
Okay.
Here, you can see he left all these belongings, contact lenses, personal belongings, his bathroom. This seems to be some sort of workspace, again, with other chemicals here. The light's still on, some kind of station set up here. We're not really sure what that was for. In, what we can assume was also a bedroom. You can see clothes left here, and just a sign that someone was here up until those last few moments when neighbors said he left.
Okay, so let's bring it down. Yeah. So essentially this reporter is walking through and showing us various workstations, like she said, with chemicals, electronics, that sort of thing. She was permitted to walk through this whole home less than 3 days after the attack.
Well, that seems very, very weird, unless they had already done all their fingerprint dusting or taken
Forensics.
out the information. I was listening to the show as I was driving over, and you were talking about how there was a Quran that was open to a page on. I'm trying to remember what
Martyrdom.
It was. Martyrdom, and so now was the person are these the New Orleans
Yes.
attacker
terrorist,
and the Trump Tower, are they related? I mean, other than the fact that they served in the military at the same place, are they? Is there any relationship between them at all?
We don't know.
Okay,
that's still kind of up in the air. It seems not. They didn't live in the same town. They weren't part of the same unit or anything like that. Very different backgrounds from at least the last several years. One was still in the Army, the Livelsberg, who from the Las Vegas attack, and then this Din Jabbar guy.
He's been out of the Army.
Yeah, but there are some really strange coincidences, right? Where they were both at Fort Bragg for a time. They both used the same app to rent the vehicles that they used. That's bizarre, right?
Well,
it's not a very popular app. It's not like Uber or Lyft.
All right.
They use something called Turo.
Okay.
And Turo is like, it's a rent your personal vehicle kind of thing.
Right. Although I will say this, when I first read about that, I read about that company in a business magazine, and I said, well, that's kind of interesting because it's kind of an offshoot of Uber,
right?
In that Uber is essentially a taxi service that allows people to use their own cars to be a taxi,
right?
And this is allowing you to use your own car to be a rental car company,
right?
And so these two people rented. So are you saying that was a rental? Was the
Cybertruck?
Tesla? Was that a rental truck?
It was a rental.
Oh, I'm going to say that person's not happy.
Yeah. And you know what? No one's mentioned that I've heard. Like, who owned these
vehicles?
Owned
that?
Yeah, that would be interesting.
That
who
would
owned
be
the
interesting
vehicles?
to know.
I will say, too,
but the fact that it was open, the Quran was open to pages
strange.
on martyrdom, and then the response or the post that was put out by the mosque that the attacker, the terrorist in New Orleans, that he attended.
Right.
It really was more about protecting themselves,
right,
and not answering any questions.
Yeah,
don't answer any questions.
Instructed their followers to
don't answer any questions.
Yeah,
and so,
don't respond to the press.
So there's a difference to me between somebody who is a Muslim and someone who is an Islamist. The way that I'm using the two words, an Islamist is always a Muslim. Most Muslims are not Islamists, and I'm saying an Islamist is somebody who believes in martyrdom,
right,
and who believes in jihad,
and will fight to the death,
and not the jihad of peace, but the jihad that says that those who don't agree with you deserve death.
Right.
That's an Islam. That's a radical Islamist.
Right.
And so what we don't know yet about this person, we know this person was Muslim. If he's killing people, we have to wonder whether or not he is an Islamist.
I think that's going to come to light.
Who believes that he is now going to go to heaven and experience all, because apparently he was married 3 times,
right,
and had lots of girlfriends.
Yes.
And so now if the Quran is accurate, and if he believes it was accurate, he's now going to have over 70 virgins.
Yeah, like 76
virgins.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to learn more.
I think it will be revealed.
Yeah.
I think we had Tom Pappard on earlier in the show, who did a great reporting on Tennessee Star News Network, talking about legacy. What do they call them? Tokens. And he learned this obviously through the Covenant shooter and getting the manifesto and having to file a FOIA request and all this stuff. And it's a tool that the FBI uses to keep some evidence suppressed.
Okay.
And Tom was smart enough to ask the FBI if they are keeping the videos made by Din Jabbar as legacy tokens. In other words, will they release them or not? Because apparently he posted on social media praising Allah and mentioned ISIS, and that's according to Joe Biden. He said that he talked about ISIS. He joined ISIS.
Well, he had an Islamic ISIS flag apparently in his vehicle.
It was yes, it was on a pole on the back of the vehicle.
Oh wow! So it was even displayed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so I mean, I think that we're going to come to confirmation or not on that pretty quickly. But I do think that the details coming out are so scattered and bizarre that we're just not getting the whole story. Would you agree with that?
Well, yes. But with a change in administration, I believe we will get the whole story. And you know, one of the great concerns is we have no idea how many terrorists, foreign terrorists, have gotten across our borders because the Biden administration just frankly let them in.
That's right. And these people are being radicalized somewhere. So while he was American born and was a member of our U.S. military, he was clearly radicalized by someone.
Right. And he was radicalized in this radical Islam.
Right.
Not radicalized against low taxes,
right,
or something like that.
No, that's a good point. He, you know, we've been told over and over and over again. Mayorkas made the point again yesterday on the news, saying that domestic radical terrorism is their biggest threat.
Yeah, but they like to say they like to claim it's white nationalists.
That's right. That's right.
And I don't believe that. Let me say this: I don't believe that there are a lot of white nationalist terrorists who have infiltrated our country across the border.
Clearly not.
Yeah.
You know, I think you're absolutely right about that. And now my fear is to take it one step further. While this man was clearly not an illegal immigrant, we still have lots of them. And it was over 700 in 2024 that made their way into the United States who are on the terror watch list.
Yeah.
So these are not,
and those are the ones we know about.
Right.
Yeah.
Those are the ones we know about.
Yeah.
Now those people and their ilk will be emboldened because they've seen this attack and it was clearly successful as far as they're concerned, right? And so now they will see this is something we can do. Go find the guy who's been divorced, who's lost his job, who doesn't have any money, that lives in a trailer and goes to the mosque. That's somebody we can radicalize.
Well, and we'll see. Mayorkas has made a very, very big deal out of the fact that this person was born in America.
Yes, you said it over and over and over.
And the people who are questioning me ought to say, well, now let me ask you a question. Are the white nationalists that you say are so dangerous, aren't they also born in America?
Excellent point.
I mean, it's not. You can still be a terrorist, and so at any rate, with the change in administration, this will be the most dramatic change in our government in my lifetime, and that's not a short one.
Yeah.
And
I think having Kash Patel at the head is going to really, as far as intelligence goes, I think we're going to get a lot more transparency out of the FBI.
And their focus will be different. Pam Bundy.
Yes.
Pete Hegseth. You know, I'm all in favor of a strong defense. What I'm not in favor of is spending hundreds of billions of dollars a year on a bureaucracy or paying too much for the weapons that we need to protect ourselves.
That's right. That's right.
And I think that Hegseth can probably find $150 to $200 billion of waste, fraud, and abuse out of the $850 billion, and then either cut the budget or put it or make us
strong again.
Yes.
I agree. All right. So when we come back after this break, I want to get your take on the Presidential Citizens Medal awardees.
Oh, me.
I know you have opinions.
And let's also talk a little bit about the House speakership.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
When we come back on the Michael Patrick Leahy Show.
takes this special time to salute the Franklin men and women in uniform who've answered the call for our freedom. Let's give them the hero's welcome they deserve as they fought hard to restore peace around the world. American troops are our angels of protection, so stand up and salute them proudly. This message is courtesy of our good friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They're always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction. I want to say a few words about our friends at the Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road. The Nashville Pizza Company in Franklin reminds us that the current economic times have been tough on many families in our area, and many are finding it hard to make ends meet. Your donations of clothing or canned goods can make a difference for a family in need. During this holiday season, give from the heart so others can have a new start. That's courtesy of our friends at Nashville Pizza Company, 2176 Hillsborough Road in Franklin. They are always working to keep our community moving in a positive direction.
My fellow Americans, my good friends, I've known them for a long time, at D.T. McCall & Sons have the deal of a lifetime for you, and nobody knows deals like I do. That much I can tell you. Nobody knows deals like I do. The lumber yards, they can hit you with hidden charges for up to $200 extra. They'll charge you for cords and hoses and haul-offs. Your money goes all over the place and out of the state, and most importantly, out of your pockets. How do they get away with that? I don't know how they do that, but on day one, if you buy from McCall's, we are going to stop the hidden charges as soon as you buy it. D.T. McCall & Sons has locations in Lebanon, Carthage, Lafayette, Cookeville, and Franklin, and they have been family-owned in Middle Tennessee for over 100 years. Head to one of their stores today or check them out at dtmccalls.com. You're going to love it, believe me.
Hey there,
Impersonator not endorsed
founder
by Donald
and
Trump.
CEO of the Glock Store. As a proud sponsor of this show, you may have heard Michael Patrick Leahy mention us a few times over the past 4 years. But today, it's me on the radio telling you how pleased we are to be associated with Michael Patrick Leahy and his dedication to the highest levels of professional journalism. Michael Patrick Leahy has been threatened with jail time in bringing the true facts about that Nashville Covenant shooting to his listening audience. Michael Patrick Leahy, you keep doing what you're doing, and we here at the Glock Store will keep sponsoring your show for the good of Nashville and the entire country. And I'm personally inviting all of your listeners to come visit and shoot at the Glock Store. It's where Michael Patrick Leahy learned to shoot a gun for the first time and where he bought his own personal Glock 19. I'm Lenny McGill, founder and CEO of the Glock Store here in Nashville, just minutes from the airports, worth the drive from anywhere, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy and the Tennessee Star Report.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. I am EJ Host filling in for Michael Patrick Leahy. He'll be back next week. Joining me in studio, Crum Carmichael. Thank you for being here. Real quick, because we have several topics and we only have 30 minutes left.
That's right.
So real quick, your take on the Presidential Citizens Medal awardees. And I want you to tell me without telling me that you're upset with Liz Cheney. Don't even talk about Liz Cheney. Do you know who else is on this list?
I don't. The story I read was highlighted that Liz Cheney,
of course,
was on the list, which actually probably doesn't help her much.
Right.
I mean, it's a nice award, you know. You have a medal.
She's never going anywhere.
She's not. Yeah, but anyway, it shows you what Biden thought was important.
Agreed.
What he thought was the great American.
Yep. And you know who else is on that list?
Who?
Christopher Dodd. Do you remember Chris Dodd?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Radical Democrat from Connecticut.
Yeah.
He and Barney Frank.
Oh yeah.
Destroyed our banking system.
Yeah, Dodd-Frank.
And odd that this week he's getting that award when he was responsible for the Terrorism Risk Insurance Act.
Jeez.
We forget about
now,
that.
What is the basis? When they did the press release on each one of them, what's the basis for giving? I mean, it wasn't because he's a former senator. There are a lot of former senators.
Sure.
Well, why is he a great
He's just
American?
a friend.
Okay.
I mean, I think they're just close. He's actually, Chris Dodd is, according to reports, as of recently, still advising the Biden administration.
Okay, well,
he's
that
in
doesn't
D.C.
surprise me.
He's in the finance sector.
Okay,
You know,
all right.
so
I know he had something to do with Hollywood.
Yeah. So
Screen Actors Guild or something like that.
That is one of his focuses. So financial institutions and
yeah.
entertainment.
So anyway, it's the unfortunate thing is these awards used to really mean something.
Agreed.
And so now they don't.
Yeah, they've watered it down, and it just doesn't mean much of anything anymore. Okay, so I have a technology update.
Okay.
So as I've mentioned on the show many times over, I'm what you would call a technology news nerd. I just like knowing what's latest in the news.
Okay.
I also have a technology company that I should mention more often, but I don't. GetFoundEverywhere.com. So traditional SEO basically gets people to your website and they can click around on your website. But if you're not selling your product online and you require customers to actually come through your door, you need something like GetFoundEverywhere.com to make that happen.
All right.
So that's what we do there. But anyway, it's my love of technology that brought me to this latest news story. We are right now in the life cycle of a conspiracy theory. Step 3. Have you ever heard this life cycle before?
Oh, please.
Okay. Number 1, deny the theory exists.
Okay.
Okay. Number 2, ridicule anyone who believes the theory to be true. Okay. 3, admit the theory is somewhat true, but it's no big deal.
Yeah.
That's where we are on this topic. And then 4 would be the theory is actually really great and you should love it. Okay. Keep in mind we're at step 3.
3. Okay.
Okay. Cloud seeding doesn't work. The feds.
This is for rain, you mean? I mean, for rain.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Rain.
I wanted to be sure we weren't talking about the internet cloud.
Feds say the technology they use to control the weather doesn't work. Published January 2nd, 2025 on gizmodo.com. It's one of the places I go to get some tech information and that sort of thing. Reporter Matthew Galt, he says, for as long as humans have suffered at the hands of the storms, they have dreamed of controlling the weather. And the United States is just like all great empires, and we do this. We cloud seed. And then it gets better. If you go to the Government Accountability Office, mentioned in this article, you go there to get more information, and it says, yeah, we've had this technology for about 80 years or so. So for about as long as they've been telling us that climate change is a problem.
So do they use the clouds? Is cloud seeding is the argument or the theory that they use the clouds to cause hurricanes?
That's the conspiracy part.
Okay.
All right. This, according to this article and according to GAO, they use cloud seeding to help with droughts around the world.
Okay.
So cause rain.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, if that's all they use it for, I don't know. I don't know. No, I'm saying if that was all they used it for, I'm not sure why they would keep it hidden.
Yeah.
But if they're using it for other reasons, then they would want to keep it hidden.
So remember now in Tennessee, they passed a law last session? I think it went into effect in July.
Okay.
That you're not allowed to spray chemicals in the air over the state of Tennessee. I'm paraphrasing. There's obviously more nuance to it.
All right.
So we were told at the time that that's crazy. You're a conspiracy theorist. This is not happening. And now we have an article saying, yeah, we do it. And we actually kind of stink at it.
Okay.
That we were told we were nuts.
Okay. Well, it's going to be interesting to see where that goes, but it's going to stay in the news. Mm-hmm. And once again, with the change of administration, we may actually learn more.
So I think we're about 6 months from step 4.
Okay.
In the life cycle of a conspiracy theory. They denied it.
And
they ridiculed us. Now they're admitting that the theory is somewhat true, but it's, no big deal.
Okay.
And then I think the next step is to say, yeah, it's really great and you should love it.
Well, if we get to that part, then the question of whether or not it's been used to produce hurricanes becomes a much bigger topic.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm welcoming this because it would be nice to get the climate crazies to stop. Stop saying it's my SUV. I will never apologize for my carbon footprint. Stop saying it's my SUV. Stop saying it's the trucks on the road. Stop saying it's the airplane. Stop saying it's my plastic straw.
Here's the way I look at things. You've heard the expression that talk is cheap. Mm-hmm. Actions speak louder than words. Okay.
Yes, sir.
there are billionaires, and I'll name one in particular, who is a wonderful investor, and otherwise a very fine person. Warren Buffett.
Yeah.
Warren Buffett has said for years that he should pay more taxes.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, how do we know that he is disingenuous when he says that? There's one very simple way.
Well, he could write the check.
He could, and he doesn't.
Yep.
Or at least he doesn't say he does.
Mm-hmm.
So he ought to say, not only do I believe that I should pay more taxes, I'm actually writing a check greater than the taxes I owe. Okay? Because if I tell somebody I should do something, I'm disingenuous unless I actually do what I say I should do.
And I think I know where you're going with this. You're going to say that all those climate activists need to stop driving or riding in their private planes.
In their private planes, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you ought to say, I'm going to stop eating meat. I'm not going to eat beef. I'm going to walk my talk.
Yep.
And I'm not going to fly to Davos on a jet.
Yep.
I'll take a canoe across the Atlantic and hope I get there.
I would like to see them try.
Yeah.
All right. We're short on time because I do want to get to a couple more things.
Okay. All right.
And I have been told
yes,
I should ask your opinion on this topic.
Okay. What's that?
So President Biden, in all of his lack of wisdom and lack of faculties, has said that he thinks he could have beaten Donald Trump.
Yeah, and you're asking the reason that he has said that?
Yeah.
Well, I think it's so that he can leave his options open for running in 28.
No.
Yes. I think that, because he's only served 4 years, and he now sees that Trump is going to get to serve Trump's second 4 years. So I think Biden is trying to keep his options open.
Yeah,
for 28, and that's and if he does run in 28, it'll be for the purpose of proving that the Democrat Party would in fact vote for a fence post.
Right.
if a fence post turned out to be the nominee.
Yeah.
Over.
I think we've already proven that.
Well,
I mean, they really they did that last time. He didn't have his faculties about him the last time, but Jill was in charge.
Yeah, but here's what's interesting, and this is very concerning to me. Jimmy Carter actually did some pretty good things as president, and he also did some things that were terrible. And the things he did that were terrible had much more to do with economics and inflation and all these other things that caused and the tax rates. Top marginal tax rate was 70%.
Right.
70%. And so when inflation is at 15% and you're in the 50% bracket at $40,000 of income.
Right.
You've got to make a huge increase. And so people's lives were devastated under Jimmy Carter's inflation. And it was reflected by them only voting for Carter 41%.
Right.
As bad a candidate as Kamala Harris was, and as bad as the policies of the Biden administration were, the fact that she still got 49% of the vote is very concerning to me.
Yes, a fence post.
Did Trump win a mandate? Yes. But if he is unable to act on that mandate because of a few Republicans in the House not supporting
Mike Johnson, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm glad you mentioned that because I do want to pivot over there and get your take on this. Patrick, do we have that Massey clip where he obviously is a no, and he's got a couple of people with him that are going to vote no with Mike Johnson? But listen to this clip.
If Chip Roy were asked to serve as chairman of the Rules Committee, would that be enough to get your vote for Mike Johnson?
Oh, no. You can pull all my fingernails out. You can shove bamboo up in them. You can start cutting off my fingers. I am not voting for Mike Johnson tomorrow. And you can take that to the bank.
Who are you voting for, Thomas? Who are you voting for?
For all our viewers.
Now, there's also a Republican from Indiana.
Yes.
I can't remember her name, but she's as adamant.
Yes.
With the way the numbers are right now, if two Republicans do not vote for Johnson, then he won't be the speaker.
Right. Do you think we'll get any Democrats to come on board?
It's a great question. I see no reason why any Democrat would, because I think if Hakeem Jeffries says don't let because how foolish would Republicans look if they can't certify Trump?
Right.
Because without a speaker,
that's right.
Without a speaker, they cannot certify the presidential election.
That's right.
And so eventually, I mean, Massey and the woman from Indiana who's foreign born, and I'm not saying anything bad about foreigners per se, but and she, you know, she has these things that she cares about,
right?
But you know, if you say we must eat the elephant,
right?
The idea of eating an elephant in one bite is a completely stupid idea.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Completely stupid idea.
Yep.
And so you say, okay, we're going to cut the elephant up, and then we're going to eat it in small bites, and we may not eat the parts of the elephant first that you want us to eat first, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't start cutting the elephant up to eat it.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I
this
think
is where Republicans, this is going to be a real interesting test. The next 100 days is going to be an interesting test to see if Republicans can, in fact, or will, not can, but will, in fact, stick together to accomplish at least 80% of what Trump ran on.
I agree. And I think that there's the possibility for that. I think what we've got now is, you know, a few holdouts that really just want to make sure they get something on the table, and Chip Roy being responsible for Rules Committee, I think is a great start. I think that's a really good start. Okay, when we come back, we have
news potpourri.
We do have news potpourri.
Yes.
My favorite segment.
CEO of Soul Tea, a supplement to help you have a healthier heart and stronger cardiovascular system. At Soul Tea, we regularly get emails from our customers telling us how Soul Tea has helped them. Like this one from Kelly. Hello, I'm 58 years old and have had high cholesterol for years. I wanted to stay away from prescription drugs. My husband and I have been using Soul Tea for about 13 months. My results have been amazing. My cholesterol levels went from 291 to 129. I am so impressed with Soul Tea and want to thank you. Now, in my own case, my bad cholesterol dropped from 130 to 89, and that was 20 years ago. I'm 75 years old and I take 0 prescription drugs. To get a great deal on Soul Tea, please go to GodzillaHeart.com, and when you check out, use the code Godzilla to get our best deal, which is 50% off your first shipment and then 3 bottles for the price of 2 thereafter. You don't have to live with a broken heart.
Do you suffer from
Try
declining
Soul Tea
bone and
today.
joint health? Hi, it's Tina with the John Fredericks Media Network. And when I heard about our company's Women's Challenge, I jumped on the opportunity to test this amazing supplement that's already restoring my bone density, soothing my joint pain, and helping me regain lost mobility. I've experienced so many benefits in such a short time with Native Path Collagen Peptides because they support my bones and joints, boost my metabolism, and unleash the most radiant skin and hair since my 20s. In just 2 weeks, my knee stiffness is gone, and I'm already hitting the gym more aggressively. And I get so many compliments on my glowy skin and shiny hair. Native Path Collagen Peptides are so easy to take. They're tasteless, odorless, and mix great with my morning coffee. Read thousands of 5-star reviews at getnativepath.com/Godzilla. Level up your self-care with Native Path Collagen Peptides. Try it risk-free for as low as $21 today. And get free shipping at getnativepath.com/Godzilla.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Last segment of the show, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. I am EJ Host, filling in for Michael Patrick Leahy today. Please go find me on X at EJ Under the Radar. Joining me in studio, the great Crom Carmichael. Thank you for being here. And listen, no show would be complete on a Friday with you in studio if we didn't do your favorite news potpourri. Sir, would you
yes, EJ.
Bring us into that?
It's that time of the program for little tidbits that merit the attention of our audience, but not an entire segment and have a touch of irony. Yes. These are some very interesting little stories. Headline, Wall Street Journal. The secular education cops strike again. This is a story I'm going to just quote from the story.
Sure.
Progressives are relentless in trying to block public funding for religious schools. And take a look at how this is playing out in New York. The State Board of Education is suing a Jewish family to claw back tuition it had previously approved for sending their 7-year-old autistic child to a Jewish school.
Jeez.
And this is after the parents had gone through the whole process of proving that the public schools were not able to provide him what he needed.
Right.
So now they're trying to claw it back. It's just sad.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Here's another one. Now this is actually an instructive one, a little bit like your little talk about Minnesota.
Okay.
The blue state homeless boom.
Yeah.
Blue states have spent more money trying to solve homelessness than
California, Minnesota, Illinois. Yep.
Yeah. And homelessness is up dramatically in the blue states.
Of course it is.
Now, and that's the reason is that what they're really doing is not trying to solve homeless. They're trying to fill the pockets of the builders,
right?
Who end up building the homeless shelters and the homeless homes at exorbitant prices, way above what it would cost to build the homes. But it's so interesting. The Illinois homelessness is up 153%.
Jeez.
California up 23%. New York 71%, and the U.S. as a whole under Biden.
Yeah.
Is up 36%.
Oh, you know what's terrible about that too is, well, my motto, follow the money. You'll always find the agenda.
Yep.
Always.
Yeah.
But they're not actually helping these people. Like I can even get behind a tax if you're going to actually show me it helps the people.
Well,
it never does it?
Well, I could not get behind a tax because it would be a ruse.
That's the thing.
The way to help homelessness starts way before there are adults and homeless.
That's right.
And the left doesn't want to get into that.
You have
one? Please jump in there.
This winter, healthcare staff in New York, New Jersey, and California will be required to wear masks in specific settings.
No, wait. When is that?
This winter. So right now.
And in what states?
It's New York, New Jersey, and California.
Okay. All right. Well, they're just not going to give it up. And it'll be interesting to see how those people react to that. It really will be. This is an interesting headline, Wall Street Journal. The Levi Strauss heir has just been elected the mayor of San Francisco.
Whoa.
And he promises to reduce crime, to increase the police force, to reduce homelessness, and say you can't be homeless on the streets of San Francisco. So it's going to be very interesting. He's going to be taking a very, very different approach.
Conservative stance, it sounds
well,
like.
It'll be interesting to see if he can carry it off in the city of San Francisco. But apparently things have gotten so bad that the voters are it's a little bit like Argentina.
Sure.
Which kept voting for socialists until their inflation rate hit 150%, and then they said, we'll take anything.
That's right. And Milei's doing great down there.
He's
doing a really terrific job
under very, very difficult circumstances. This is an interesting one. The headline is "The Authorities Shrug at Bank Fraud," and this is a person. He says this is by Gerald Laval, and it says my check was among the hundreds of checks that are stolen daily, and nobody wants to do anything about it. He wrote a check that was in the thousands of dollars. He says some months ago we made a tax payment to the District of Columbia, which is where he lives.
Right.
He says we sent a check for tens of thousands of dollars to the D.C. Treasurer in compliance with the rules.
Yep.
The check was stolen. It was cashed by somebody else by just changing who it was made out to. And Washington District of Columbia says, well, we're really sorry about this, but you still owe the money, even though he's been able to prove that the check. I mean, and he says the banks don't care, the federal government doesn't care, Washington D.C. doesn't care. And so it really shows you the dangers
of sending a paper check.
Of sending a paper check now.
Yeah.
So in your technology world, danger.
Yeah. Well, because if it happened online, or if they did it with a credit card or a debit card or something like that, they would have tracked where it went. And the bank, think about it this way: if I say I'm on vacation or something happens and someone gets my card, they can try to make a transaction, but more than likely my bank is going to stop it, especially if it's that high in cost.
Yeah.
Or I can put a limit and say, no, don't cash any checks or
this one
ACH. But this
was the actual paper check.
Yeah.
And apparently paper checks are being stolen. So that's a scary thing. And I didn't know that happened. And so that was interesting. This is a kind of an interesting story, and this guy writes great work. It's Bjorn Lomborg.
Okay.
And he is an environmentalist who is what I would call a practical environmentalist. and his headline is Green Electricity Costs a Bundle. And he's pointing out how Germany has become greener and greener and greener. The cost of electricity in Germany is 300%.
Oh my goodness.
Higher than it is here in the United States. Think about what that means across your entire economy.
Sure.
When people are having to spend 300, and it's because they've introduced so much wind and so much solar.
I was
going to
ask you if it was climate change activists. Yeah.
It's solar and wind, and here's the problem. They have to keep in place all of the backup energy that's needed, because sometimes the wind doesn't blow, and we know that the sun doesn't shine all the time. And if those two things aren't happening, they need the coal.
Unreal.
So they have to spend for both.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for joining us
You betcha.
today.
You
I
betcha.
appreciate
Enjoyed
it. Those are some really great stories. Everybody pay attention. Tim Burchett, Tennessee's Congressional District 2, says this will go multiple rounds for the speaker vote. I don't love that.
I don't either.
Michael Patrick Leahy Show. He will be back next week. I am EJ, Under the Radar. Have a great weekend.
I'm Governor Bill Lee, and I want to talk to you about an important education bill in Tennessee. Everyone knows that education has the power to change the trajectory of a child's life forever. And anyone who's raised a child knows that each one's different in their educational needs, and their learning styles, and their talents. The fact is, parents know their own children best. They know what's best for their education and their future. That's why I'm here to talk to you about Tennessee's Education Freedom Act. It empowers parents across our state to use their tax dollars to choose the school that allows their child to thrive, regardless of zip code or income, all while making significant investments in Tennessee's public education. If you want to learn how you can help make the Education Freedom Act a reality in Tennessee, go to educationfreedomact.com and write or call your state representatives. It's educationfreedomact.com.
This ad is
The
paid
Chief
for
Team
by Job
reminds
Creators
listeners here
Network.
that more and more veterans will be returning home over the next few years, and many are local. These heroes have elite military training and valuable professional skills, but they also need jobs too. That's why the Chief Team is encouraging all local businesses. Let's make it the year we hire smart and hire veterans. That's from the Chief Team, where they say service isn't just a courtesy, it's a commitment. For more information, call 931-444-3572. That's 931-444-3572 for the Chief Team in Clarksville.
The Black preaching tradition is deeply connected to gospel music.
PBS presents a new series hosted by Henry Louis Gates Jr., Gospel.
Our singers preach and our preachers sing.
Gospel is a prayer. It is our heart's cry to God in lyrics and song.
You feel it deep down in your soul.
Gospel. Streaming now on the PBS app.